This morning, S.A. Cosby. He is one of America's hottest writers, spinning tales of rural crime fiction. Cosby's latest is All the Sinners Bleed, which only continues the head of steam he's picked up in recent years, including 2 appearances on former President Obama's summer reading lists. We met Cosby in his hometown, an hour outside Richmond, Virginia, a place with a complicated past that has produced a man redefining its future. A lot of your childhood is in these books.
Yeah. We were poor, but we just were rich in love. I never felt unloved. I never felt unhappy.
Sean Cosby grew up dirt poor, living in a trailer without running water until he was 16. On the other side of this window is the room he and his brother shared, both raised by a single mom, who, despite the family's financial situation, poured everything into her kids.
Strongest person I ever knew. Brilliant lady, really smart. If life had gone differently, she'd be the one y'all be talking to instead of me as a writer.
Cosby was a talkative, rambunctious boy who dreamed up stories from an early age.
Out front, there used to be a bar, and a lot of bar fights and bar scenes in my books were inspired by stuff I saw there. Probably stuff I had no business seeing, but...
He first started writing horror, then turned to crime, prompted by the prospect of earning $50 for a short story.
And I really needed that $50, and because I was like, counting change for gas at the time, and it was the funny thing. It was like I've been writing for 20 years and very little success, and started writing crime fiction. It seemed like things happened really quick, like really fast.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's funny. I think I was always supposed to be a crime fiction writer. I wasn't in the right, as my mom used to say, I was in the church, but I was in the wrong pew.
Since 2019, Cosby has published 4 books in 5 years. The latest is All the Sinners Bleed, featuring a small-town sheriff investigating a series of horrific crimes, all against the backdrop of what Cosby calls the 4 pillars of Southern fiction: class, religion, sex, and race. In All the Sinners Bleed, black folks and white folks don't get along.
Right.
Is that the case in reality here? Or was this just the book?
Somewhat. I think I, maybe turned it up a little bit for the book. But, my hometown is Matthews County, Virginia, and we still have a Confederate statue up. And we had a referendum a couple years ago about taking the statue down, and it lost by a lot.
This is the statue?
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, it's been here my whole life. This building here used to be the courthouse building. That is literally 10 steps from the statue. And for me, I think they were trying to send a really clear message.
Confederate flags still fly here in Matthews, just an hour outside Richmond. It is a place that may still be rife with tension, but also pride for Cosby, no matter what subject he turns to.
Good seeing you again.
Take care.
All right, bro.
Take care. And good luck to you.
All right, thank you. The way my community has embraced me and my books, it's incredible. It feels so surreal, but at the same time, it's so comforting. And so, even
you were the Grand Marshal?
Yeah, Grand Marshal of the Christmas parade. So, I like to say, even people that don't like me are happy for me.
You said you can't remember the last time you paid for dessert. Cosby spent much of his early years here at the library. Words were his world. Then and now, he has no compunction about spilling them. On the page, on social media, or during our interview. Can I just say something? Your mind does not stop. It's incredible. I feel like we're on one subject and you could go off in 12 different ways.
I have a tendency to go on tangents. I wrote a joke the other day on social media. One of my friends was like, "Are you high?" I was like, "No, it's just the way I think." And when I was a kid, it was just uncontrollable. My mom told me I started talking at 2 and never shut up. And so it's just been a thing. And I never thought of it as an ability. I never thought of it as a good thing. I always got in trouble.
I can't remember reading a writer who embraces and energizes the simile like you do.
My editor, we have a deal. I'm limited to 3 similes a page. Because if I don't, I will just take off. I love the sound of similes. I love the sound of metaphors.
Like the freight trains that run through Matthews County, Cosby's books keep coming with no end in sight. And it's hard to see him running out of track anytime soon.
I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that people from all walks of life read my books and like them.
Where do you want this journey to take you?
It's crazy. I wish I could go back in time and tell 12-year-old me, you're not gonna believe the places that words are gonna take you. Your words. You're gonna be in Amsterdam one day. You're gonna be on the New York Times bestseller list. A former president is gonna not only know your name, but like your books. You know, you asked me where the journey I wanna go. I think I've gone there, you know? I think I've gone that place. I just wanna be able to keep writing and keep telling stories.
He was a lot of fun.
Love him.
Right? And he's like, I started talking at 2, and my mom says I never shut up. But he's just great. And the pride that people have for him there is pretty amazing to see.
Well.
And he's just going. I mean, you get the sense with some of these authors and writers, you're spending time with them, and he was a joy to spend time with, but they just want to be in front of the computer, just working. Right?
Well,
and that's him right now.
For someone who gets in a lot of trouble, especially on this show for going on tangents, I love this guy. Yeah. He is such a validator. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you, S.A.
Even just the energy around him, not having read his stuff yet, now I want to read it to see how that energy comes out on the page.
All the Sinners Bleed. Check it out.
I want to read it.
Great stuff.
Absolutely.
This morning, the demon dog of crime fiction. James Ellroy's books, almost always set in Los Angeles, span more than 40 years. His most recognized is L.A. Confidential, turned into a movie in 1997. His 2 most recent works have featured famed private investigator Freddie Otash, the TMZ of his day. In Ellroy's latest, Otash finds himself investigating the death of Marilyn Monroe.
One of the most famous stars in Hollywood history is dead at 36.
Marilyn Monroe's rise and fall have captivated Hollywood for generations.
Her international appeal took her from command appearances to the other side of the world and entertainment for Korean GIs.
Prized pieces of Monroe's wardrobe, like the black dress she's wearing here, are still on display at the Hollywood Museum in Los Angeles. I'm told this dress is worth $4 million. That's amazing.
It's amazing. It's people with too much money.
That's where we met James Ellroy to talk about his latest book, featuring a man who never made Monroe's life easy and who finds an added lot of trouble after she dies. Private investigator Freddie Otash, an unequaled digger of dirt.
I get an assignment to do a certain job, and I do a certain job.
Otash sat down with Mike Wallace in 1957 at the peak of his fame to discuss his questionable methods.
How do you justify invading people's privacy like that?
Well, I feel this way. If you can see it or hear it, you're not invading any privacy.
In The Enchanters, Ellroy turns Otash into something slightly less sleazy.
I made him into something that he wasn't because my prerogative is always to fictionalize. And with me, creating fiction, historical fiction, is 75% distortion and 25% truth. And what I look for in research is blank spaces that give me the latitude to fictionalize. And they are all over Marilyn Monroe's death.
James Ellroy grew up in Los Angeles. When he was 10, his mom was raped and murdered, a crime that remains unsolved.
All the trauma part got subsumed very early on by my intellectual curiosity about crime.
And how did your dad influence your writing?
He let me read.
Ellroy published his first novel in 1981, then achieved fame with the L.A. Quartet of books.
I admire you as a policeman, particularly your adherence to violence. as a necessary adjunct to the job.
including LA Confidential and The Black Dahlia.
She looks like that dead girl. How sick are you?
All of which were written longhand, a practice Ellroy still employs. Still no TV?
Yeah, no TV.
No cell phone, no computer?
Nah.
None of it?
White notebook paper, I got a black pen. I got a red pen to correct with. I got a landline telephone.
Wouldn't it be easier to use a computer?
I don't know. I haven't used one.
If Marilyn Monroe and Freddie Otash weren't enough in The Enchanters, Robert Kennedy also figures heavily. All caught up in a time and place Ellroy cannot get out of his mind, though he has tried. You've spent so little time here over the past few decades, even though you write about it obsessively.
Right.
Because you want that distance?
I can't live there. It's too present. I have too much history here, and I like the old LA. And I got an imagination and a half. So I just go to a dark room, wherever I'm living, and make it up.
Ellroy currently lives in Denver, in the same building with a woman he's already divorced twice, fellow author Helen Canode.
We live down the hall from each other. I got a key to her place, she got a key to my place.
Amazing.
But I don't know how to turn her TV set on.
You just see each other every once in a while.
No, we see each other every night.
Why does she deal with you?
Because we got big love and we got big laughs. And Helen's the most brilliant human being I've ever met.
Ellroy is a self-described conservative, though he says he hasn't voted since Ronald Reagan was reelected. At an age when most people want to sit back and travel the world, the only travel Ellroy looks forward to is more book tours.
This is a book for the whole family. If the name of your family is the Manson family.
He says he likes learning about his readers.
Stick around and ask me some questions.
And they love learning about him.
Fella at a reading asked me once, who's the president you identify with the most? And I said, well, Richard Nixon. Why? I said, well, my clothes don't fit. I need a shave. Women don't want me. And I will burn your ass down with my implacable will.
Yikes. Love him.
My clothes don't fit. I need a shave. Women don't want me.
And
I
I'll
will
burn
your butt with my implacable will.
I already downloaded the book, Jeff.
One of the great things, Ellroy's one of those writers where his writing and his language is so distinct, you know at the very beginning you're not reading anyone else.
Everything is period.
This morning, Meg Gardiner, a former lawyer, three-time Jeopardy champion, and late-blooming novelist who's become one of America's best thriller writers. She recently co-wrote Heat 2, a follow-up to the 1995 movie Heat. Gardiner also just released her 15th solo book, Shadowheart. We met her in Austin, Texas, to discuss her long road to success. No matter what she writes,
What is Wuthering Heights?
Meg Gardiner always has an easy conversation starter.
Guess what, Meg Sweet? You're the new Jeopardy champion.
I am a three-time Jeopardy champion.
What is the Bionic Woman?
You are right.
What is a quorum?
That's it.
What is Hinckley?
Hinckley is good for 1,000. Nice going.
I'd always wanted to try it out, and it was actually seeing somebody I went to college with on the show once, and I said, I'm smarter than he is.
And you were.
So they always say at the end of the show, if you'd like to be a contestant.
That's what you did?
Yep, absolutely.
Not only did Gardiner win Jeopardy 3 times, her daughter went on to become a champion as well. But Trivia Whiz is hardly the full answer to the question, who is Meg Gardiner? You've had to fight a lot to get where you are.
I have had to fight a lot.
Gardiner dreamed of writing when she was young. Dreams that, as they so often do, ran into reality. When you told your parents you wanted to be a writer, the reaction was?
Fantastic, wonderful. How are you going to put food on the table? My dad, who was an English professor, so of course loved literature.
And he was an English professor?
He was an English professor. His literature was his life.
Gardiner got her law degree and worked in Los Angeles before moving to England for her husband's job, where she raised 3 kids. While overseas, she began writing thrillers, which were successful in the UK, but no American publisher would sign her.
I was getting close to saying, screw it. I got a rejection letter saying something like, calling my book third-rate tripe, no different from the thousands of gum wrappers that litter the gutters of New York City. Not that I remember it in particular, but I thought, no.
Why would you go out of the way and say something like that? Why not just say, no, we don't want it?
It was unnecessary, but you know what? It spurred me on. It knocked me back, and then I thought, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'll write something else. I'll write something better, something bigger. And it was not too long after that
The man
came along. The man was Stephen King, who read Gardiner and raved about her to his fans. Gardiner immediately got an American contract. By now, she's published 15 works, including a collaboration with Michael Mann to write Heat 2, the follow-up to the 1995 crime classic Heat. Heat 2 became an instant New York Times bestseller.
Had you been a fan of the movie before?
Yes.
You were? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Same.
Good. Now you can stay here in my house. So.
We can screen Heat
exactly.
tonight again.
My niece and nephew visited last month. My niece is 12, and we said, what should we watch tonight? And she said, let's watch Heat.
She's 12.
She's 12. So we did. And then when we finished, she turned to me and she goes, if Mom and Dad ask, we were watching a Disney documentary about goldfish.
Gardiner's bread and butter has always been her thrillers involving her female leads. There are 5 books featuring her character Evan Delaney, 4 starring Joe Beckett, and another 4 featuring Caitlin Hendricks, including her latest, Shadowheart, part of the Unsub series.
What is an unsub?
An unsub stands for unknown subject, which is FBI lingo for the criminal whose identity they don't know.
It's about a serial killer trying to duplicate the work of another serial killer.
There's some Silence of the Lambs stuff taking place
I
here,
take
right?
that as a real compliment.
It's
Thank
true.
you.
I mean, it's true because you've got the FBI agent interrogating a killer in prison.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's of course how the behavioral analysis unit at the FBI got its start.
Whether the category is lawyer, trivia champ, mom, or best-selling author, Meg Gardiner has run the board on her own story, even if not exactly in the order she hoped.
And you have no plans to stop?
No, no, not yet. It's a long road, it's tough. I still love it though. I don't want to do anything else.
So if anybody wants to join for a Heat screening,
sign up.
Excuse me.
That was excitement masquerading.
got some heat here on set. You know, it's funny because Michelle, she sneezes loudly a lot off set, but it's never happened on television.
I'm so
It was that
It's
great
okay,
of a story
it's okay.
that is what brought upon such a response. I mean, I love the fact that her life could have turned out a very different way
Yes.
if it wasn't for this one lucky break, but she had obstacle after obstacle.
Well, the breaks helped her, yes, but it's just the perseverance. It's like somebody tells her, no, your stuff is garbage. She's like, no, it's not. I'm going to write something bigger and better.
And guess what? Love that Stephen King coming into the rescue.